Just when you thought politics couldn't get any more dramatic, the United States has found itself in a bit of a tiff with Colombia over its increasing ties with Venezuela. So much so, in fact, that the US lackey in the region, Peru, has taken up the mantle of attacking Colombia instead. The relationship between Colombia and the United States has been a strong one for decades, with Colombia being seen as a key ally in South America. However, recent developments in the region have caused tensions to rise. Colombia's growing closeness with Venezuela, a country that the US views as an enemy, has irked officials in Washington. To make matters worse, the US ally Peru has taken the reins of attacking Colombia, criticizing the country's President Gustavo Petro for his unsavory comments on the Peru administration. The situation has left many wondering how this will impact the future of Colombia-Peru relations and the broader political landscape in South America. Hi and welcome to TFI Global Latin America, TFI Global's channel dedicated to the America in the Americas. I am your host Michael. If you are watching us on YouTube, please subscribe and press the bell icon to get all the latest updates. If you are watching us on Facebook, do like, share and follow the page. Let's begin. Past attempts to unite Latin America through political and economic partnerships have had mixed results. They range from the Pacific Alliance, which has no organization or secretariat, to Mercosur, which is yet to progress in accomplishing anything remarkable. That is hardly the half of it. However, a new era of integration is advancing in the region, spearheaded by two major countries, Venezuela and Colombia. Recently, Colombia's President Gustavo Petro and Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro signed an agreement to revive trade between the two countries during a ceremony on the border bridge. The deal updates everything having to do with tariffs with goods traded and lays the foundations for a new dynamic for the expansion of trade between Colombia and Venezuela, Maduro said at the event broadcast on Venezuelan state television. Diplomatic and trade relations began a process of normalization after Petro won the presidential elections in Bogota last August. During his campaign, he had pledged to normalize relations with the government in Caracas. The meeting also addressed the extreme violence along the shared 2,200-kilometer border between Venezuela and Colombia. Controlled by mafias, the region is a hub for drug trafficking, human trafficking, illegal occupation, murders, and much more. Basically, the region has been a headache for both the nations since a long time. But due to political differences and foreign interference, none of them could ever get on the same page. So why does USA have an issue with the two finally resolving their differences? Venezuela has always been an enemy for the United States. It doesn't like the current President Maduro and has made no attempts to hide its disdain for him. There were hopes that the oil deal made between Venezuela and USA last year would maybe ease tensions between the two, but the peace didn't last for long. Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, recently halted all oil shipments to the United States. It complained that the US refused to pay for the oil, instead offering humanitarian aid. US also dictated the other countries to deal with Venezuela the same way. No money for oil, stated Biden's diktat. The breakdown of the deal hurt USA immensely. It impacted the US's brand oil strategy for Europe, which it anticipated would hurt Russia. It had hoped to ship Venezuelan oil to Europe, which has been attempting to break free from Russian oil since the inception of the Russia-Ukraine war. On the other hand, Gustavo Petro has attacked the US from the start. He even minced no words in hitting out against its coup government in Peru. With the election of former guerrilla and first ever leftist president, Colombia has entered a new political era. Even though trade ties to the region are small, they are likely to grow significantly given the region's recent emphasis on mining, cattle and oil, as well as strengthening economic ties with China. Petro seeks to change the country's overall foreign policy strategy by placing more emphasis on its Latin American neighbors, which is why he has been extremely critical of Colombian-American cooperation in the drug war, which places a focus on limiting supply, a tactic he believes has failed. Thus, it is understandable why the growing cooperation between Venezuela and Colombia has left Washington perplexed. So, they are now exploiting Peru to stymie the growth of unification among Latin American countries. But where does Peru come in all of this mess? Well, the answer lies in the recent coup in the nation. Peru has become a puppet state of US ever since Pedro Castillo was thrown out of power. As we have explained, it was a coup orchestrated by Washington against the nationalist government of Castillo. He was soon replaced by a Western-backed leader. This puppet government led by Dina Boluarte has opened all access to the West to Peru's vast resources. Many Latin American leaders have denounced the recent takeover, in some sense, of Peru by the Americans. Colombian president has been quite vocal about his discontent. Petro's comments since Pedro Castillo was ousted by Congress have ranged from referring to the Peruvian leader as a victim of a fascist coup to someone cornered politically from his first day in office. Just recently, he compared in support of the anti-government protests in Peru. He described the Peruvian police attacking innocent demonstrators as Nazis. The comparison did not go down well with Peru's lawmakers. In response, Peru recently moved to declare Colombia's president as persona non grata. This could indeed have major repercussions in the bilateral ties between Peru and Colombia, and thereby in extension to the plan of integration between Latin American nations. In Latin America, the US is doing what it has always done best, pitting nations against each other. And Peru has more to lose than US in this fight. It is a strong player in South America, and therefore attacking another major player like Colombia could never lead to the much needed unification among Latin American nations. This is what America always wanted and unfortunately is succeeding in its goals.